a tripod.
The thing I like about this parametric is it covers things all over the county, not just on the coast, and it's based on wind speeds, and if it hits a certain wind speed, then this coverage kicks in and you can use it everywhere, and it's pretty cool insurance. The problem is, as everybody watched, we just went through a horrendous budget. We don't have it for this budget cycle, but based on your timeline, I'm not sure we need it for this budget cycle. We have to start looking at it for next budget cycle. By the time this gets built, we'll be heading into it, and that's going to be one of my arguments to the court here in a minute, that I think we can have some time for that if the court wants to do it. But basically, in those limits, it would be $375,000 a year and $800,000 respectively. So it's very, very, very expensive insurance. That said, whether we can get that insurance or not, I sit here today saying that we need to build the building. I don't know what the rest of the court's going to say, but I also need to know firmly, and if you need to take a minute, because there's going to be a lot of comments, to go get me that number that day of, because I need everybody in the room to know this is going to cause a little bit of a delay if the court votes for it. I'm okay with it because I want to build that building, but it is going to cause some delay on your timeline. I just need to know really and truly kind of what the drop dead is on that. Now, but that doesn't mean we can't still go forward on the pier and get that pier fine-tuned and finalized to the 90%. In other words, I don't want to slow that down. It just may slow our construction schedule down, right? Because you could still get the pier from 60 to 90, correct?
Oh, certainly. I mean, there are a lot of options, and just for your information, when this is being built, the contractor holds insurance on it. So if it falls down or something happens when he's building it or she is building it, they have the insurance on it, and they'll be able to rebuild it. So the county does not need to carry insurance until substantial completion.
Right, but what I'm saying too is if we go from 60 to 90 on the pier, that schedule can stay on track, right?
Correct. And then the other thing that can occur is that we can bid the pier and then issue an addenda, say a month later, with the building. To say here's additional information on the building. It's a relatively small part of the entire structure, so that would allow some of the time to be made up.
And that's the kind of creative things I'm looking for. Is as I sit here today, I want to move this forward and be as small of delays as we can, that this restaurant doesn't become the reason not to do something. And you've now come up with a creative way, in my opinion at least, to say, okay, we keep moving on the pier, we get it from 60 to 90, you go talk to your architects, wherever you have to, let everybody say their piece, but you got to come back at the end and tell us equivocally, hey, look, this is when the best case scenario to get to 90% on the restaurant is, and that may mean coming back during a regular agenda and giving us the 60% proposal on the restaurant, because I'd want the Parks Board to see it, the public to see it, and we'd still want to have the 60% presentation on the building, because I think that's important for people to see. Because if you get to 90 without going to 60, then people are going to go, wait a minute, right? Then you're back to that. So
and really, the building is where a lot of people will have opinions on the building.
Oh, you betcha they will.
So shortening that design period is, could come back to bite us.
No, I don't want to. What I'm saying is I want it to be a shorter 30 to 90, but don't skip the 60, because I want people to be able to weigh in, like hopefully during the day. And I'm hoping, because I know most of the people here for the restaurant, and that's okay, but I'm hoping they also watch the rest of this presentation. And I do want to hear from the Parks Board. I know Troy Adler, I think, was supposed to be on, so I'm going to ask him before we get going too. I want to hear what the Parks Board's opinion on this is, but I do hope people will look at the rest of what you put forth too. And if there's anything else they see on this pier today, let's don't get totally stuck on the restaurant, because we're going to have that debate, but I want people to really be able to weigh in on this pier design too. If someone's got an issue or a problem, let's hear it today. Otherwise, my hope is this court will support us going from 60 to 90 on the pier today, and then we'll see what happens on the restaurant. My hope is that'll be approved too, but I don't know about that one.
And that's really what the review periods are for, is to allow a chance for folks to come in, take a look at it, make comments on it. I mean, that is what the review period is here for, so that we don't go along to the 90 and then it's being built and people will say, I didn't know we were doing that. That's in nobody's best interest.
And just so we're clear too, because there was a little glitch on why we're having this today and not on the 13th. There was a little confusion. It was supposed to be on, this agenda item was supposed to be on the 13th, and there was a glitch. To avoid that glitch, we have now put on a permanent placeholder on the agenda where Bob Hall will be on the agenda on every agenda, whether we need it or not. But doesn't mean we're going to discuss it. Sometimes we'll just table it and move on, but we're going to put it on there so that if like something happens in between and we don't get the agenda posted, that we can always say, okay, come on, because the sooner we can get the 60% design back, the better. And I don't want to be between agenda deadline or something like that and we forgot to get it on or it didn't get put on for some reason, right? So that's going to be on there so that everybody knows. There'll always be an opportunity to bring up anything Bob Hall from here going forward as well. So Judge, before everybody else jumps in, I thought Troy Adler, who was the chairman of the Parks Board, was on, and if he is, I wanted him to be able to, weigh in as far as if he had any comments. If not, then I'll let everybody move forward, because he was on earlier, but he may have jumped off.
Sir, he's listening. He's listening on the YouTube. I'm going to get him the link for the Zoom so he can chime in.
Okay, and then Scott, if you want to reflect what the Parks Board opinion is until you get Troy to be able to do that, that's fine too. But I certainly, we try to do things the right way now here, thankfully again, that we weren't for a while. We were skipping the Parks Board, and not, court wasn't, but it was getting skipped, and now we're back to it's in the right process where everything goes to the Parks Board first, they weigh in, then it comes to us, and that's how the statute's set up, and that's what the law is supposed to be. So I want to make sure that, and they did see this first, and I want to make sure that if they want to weigh in, that they get to as well, and then I think that's all I have at the moment, Judge, unless Scott or Troy wants to weigh in.
What do you ask me, sir?
Did you have any comments in regards to if the Parks Board has any position on any of what we're talking today, the 60%, the restaurant, the design, anything? I just want to make sure. And I'm sorry.
We have been like y'all. We paused everything at 30%, and so I really don't have any input from the board yet to bring as a recommendation forward till our board meeting. You may recall I made a comment about that at our last commissioners' court. And so we're planning on taking this up on the 28th, which is our next regular meeting. It's the day after your meeting, and discuss this. So I appreciate you wanting to get their input on it. But as far as from a operations standpoint, Commissioner, I've always said we keep things as simple and functional as we can, because I'm the landlord. I have to take care of it, I have to service it, and I have to maintain it. That's my only input.
Thank you, Scott. Commissioner Modis wants to speak. If you're through, Commissioner, if you have nothing to update us on, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Scott, but Commissioner Modis is wanting to speak. Yes. Can you do something?
Thanks, Judge. I just wanted to weigh in. I mean, I know we have a lot of people to listen to today, but I kind of want to weigh in and share my thoughts, my initial thoughts on this. Of course, I always want to hear the public and what everyone has to say in person or online. But I favor Design 5 as well. In the meantime, I know that there's still a lot of work to be done, and if it means the lanes is slightly so we can get more input or allow that 60% to come through. But I do support keeping the design as it was prior to the storm, and I support that as well. Kind of backing up with Commissioner Jesse. So those are my thoughts for now, and I'll just turn it over to the rest of the board and listen to the public. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have Troy Adler on yet? If he wants, Troy, you want to speak?
Jeff. Now he can hear you.
Yes, I saw him. You have to unmute. Yes.
All right, we got you now.
Yes, thank you.
Great, thank y'all. I appreciate you taking the time and been watching. And the Parks Board members are definitely in support of the restaurant, and we've been waiting.
No.
We got
wait. Third party concession. We're calling it third party concession, guys. We got to get that in our heads.
We'll wait on the third party concession.
Thank you.
Correct. We're definitely in support and looking forward to getting it back and getting out there and having another good meal.
Thank you.
I'll just sit down during public comment.
Okay, thank you. Are we ready to start public comment? Anybody else, any other commissioners have anything you want to add before then? Okay, I'll call Mr. Whitehurst up. If you We'll watch the clock. You all know, I'm sure you've spoken before. We can't we can. We're talking about this. If we have a question, we can ask you. But you have 3 minutes, and we have a lot of people that want to speak. So thank you. State your name and address.
Okay, thank you. Tom, Tom Glass is half empty, Whitehurst, 3501 Aransas Street, and 8 other properties in Nueces County that do not have the homestead exemption. So I pay property taxes in all but precinct 1, okay? And I'm not here to complain about my taxes. I'm here to stand up for option 6. I know y'all said 5, but I'm thinking about option 6. Remember that second story? Last time I was here, I came here to speak in favor of that. So did my wife. Y'all remember my wife? She was the one that saved the guy's life who had the heart attack and literally his heart stopped. Absolutely. She and a firefighter. I also had to physically restrain her during that meeting toward the end because in the morning y'all tabled the second story question, and then in the afternoon you brought it back in, and then had this kabuki moment with engineer John Michael on Zoom, where he basically said some stuff about how it just is impossible, to do. So y'all went with that, and then a couple of you talked about how it wasn't even in your precinct. Well, I pay property taxes in all but one of your precincts, and I think I made the point that I caught my first redfish on Bob Hall Pier, and at the time I was a resident of Karnes County. The point being, this is a pier for everybody, not just everybody, even in Nueces County. And that's a whole bunch of people, a whole bunch of revenue that y'all will be reaping. The bigger y'all go, the bigger that revenue is going to be, the better place we're going to have, the happier we're all going to be. I'll be happy to pay my property taxes to support whatever, including that. I also made the point last time that my grandfather opened a restaurant on a pier in the bay 97 years ago. So I know it's an engineering feat that can be done. I mean, I'm not an engineer, but I am a college graduate, which my grandfather wasn't. He had I think the equivalent of a 4th grade education. He could read and write his native Greek when he got here. And then he taught himself English anyway. So he managed to open up a restaurant on a pier with his level of education. He wasn't an engineer. I'm thinking this is something that can be done. I mean, between that Pier Cafe, as it was known 97 years ago, and it's not there anymore because we built a seawall. Okay. And then, of course, the pyramids in Egypt, other little feats of engineering. I'm thinking that we can have, it's not even thinking really big to go. I look at your agenda item here. It says discuss and consider Bob Hall Pier project in all related matters. So I figured, we can look at option 6. And the last thing I'm going to say is, man, that was a long 10 minutes y'all just took. It was a...
But your time is up.
Okay.
Too. We have a lot of people who want to speak. Thank you. I have some people with their hands up, but I'm going to get to these people sitting here first that have been here. I will not forget you. You will get called upon to speak. I promise you. So, Matthew Connolly, if you state your name and address, and remember there's a 3-minute time limit.
Sure.
Yes.
Hello, Matthew Connolly, 15389 Caravelle Drive here in Corpus, 78418. I'm just here to be one voice among many to encourage everyone who's about to make a choice and to vote to keep your promises. We have been through this, it's been a long process, and I feel like there's a lot of people who have relied on the word of this body in good faith, and we've been let down. So I'm just asking you to not do that again. The first time we were let down is when we were promised as constituents that if we told this court what we wanted as far as a rebuild after the horrible incidences from the storm, that we'd be listened to and that this board would work towards making that a reality. We proceeded in good faith. We gave our input. 1,400 people or so said what we wanted. What we wanted was a big, beautiful pier with a big, beautiful restaurant. And it looked like that's what we were going to get. That's what you all told us. That's what you all promised us. You gave us a drawing with a big, beautiful pier and a big, beautiful restaurant with the second story. First promise you broke, it sounds like, is no second story. Okay? So now you all are about to make a choice. Please keep your promise of building it back at least as good as it was. Big, beautiful pier, big, beautiful restaurant. It's really that easy. Keep your promises to us, the constituents. The other promise I would really encourage you to really consider is the promise to the leaseholder of that, what are we calling it, concession, not restaurant?
Third-party concession.
Concession,
Yes.
okay. Who, in good faith, please keep those words in your mind as you're making your decision. In good faith, for over 3 years, I'm not going to speak for her, she's here, but for over 3 years, has taken on the economic burden of holding that space and of doing what it takes to make sure the restaurant can be rebuilt there in that third-party concession area. So please think real hard about all the consequences if you decide that you're going to break your promise to that leaseholder, to that person who has a contract with this body. Contracts are important. There's consequences to breaking them. So that's really it. Please make the right choice. Thank you.
Thank you. Victoria Kroger's?
Okay, hi. My name is Victoria Rogers. I live at 15837 Grenadine Drive. I am an island resident like some of these folks that are here. I am here because I felt like it was important. I think Matthew said pretty much the way that I feel. In good faith, I have always participated when you guys have asked us, and I take my time. I encourage the people around us that they have to tell you what we want. They can't stand there and complain if they haven't gotten up and at least addressed you guys. And I know that this situation, and I think most people understand, we had a pandemic, we had a hurricane. A lot of this is new. You're throwing out ARPA, you're throwing out all these words, and we're all trying to keep up with it, very sincerely. But I just feel like we're not getting anywhere, and I think a lot of people feel like we're not getting anywhere. And I think we're finally just at the point where, decide what we're going to do, and then let's do it. I mean, and we can't just keep adding this, we can't keep doing this. Let's do something. That pier and that restaurant are important. I went to South Carolina several months ago to go visit my dad. We had to do a lot of stuff, going to a lot of different offices. Every office I went to, and this is up in the mountains, there wasn't a picture of mountains. There wasn't a picture of, well, there's pictures of grandkids. There's pictures of people on a pier, at a lighthouse, on a beach. We've got that. I went to a meeting, and I think Chairman Chesney was there on Tuesday for the real estate group, and we had Brett from the Visit Corpus Christi group, the horseback riding, something that is so unique that it makes people stop and want to get there. I would say having a cheeseburger at Michael May's, having a Bloody Mary in the morning would definitely be a micro moment that people are going to come back for, or can't wait to do, or can't wait to take a picture. And if we want to bring people here, we've got to have something for them to come see. Thank you very much for your work, and thank you for letting me speak today.
Thank you. Al Ariola.
Good afternoon, Judge, Commissioners. Al Ariola, 301 Louise Drive. I come to you representing the United Corpus Christi Chamber here on authorization from our officers. Kind of caught us off guard on the agenda item, and to be honest with you, I was grateful for the presentation, some of the comments made from the dais, to help give me context too on this moving target that's kind of been identified. Certainly, our chair is currently the concessionaire, and to make sure we had no conflict with that, again, the remaining officers did endorse me here to speak to to just ask again for maybe some clarity regarding this conversation. You've heard some points of concern from some of the citizens regarding, again, this what seems to be continuous moving target. And while we also acknowledge and recognize the difficult conversations you've had regarding financing, funding, and insurance, this is certainly an economic development asset that we continue to acknowledge is important, especially in that particular section of our community and county. And so, again, I would encourage you to, option 6 was mentioned, but there's as that old adage goes, is a good compromise is when no one's happy. And so I think really option 5 is that good compromise. So thank you guys.
Thank you. Don Skaborczyk.
Thank you. I'm Dawn Skabarczyk. I live at 1926 FM 665. Mr. Hernandez, I am in your district.
If you could speak into the
Pull that
microphone.
mic.
Sorry.
Shortness, my
Yes.
bad. I'm Dawn Skabarczyk, 1926 FM 665. I do live in Commissioner Hernandez area, and I've been going to Michael Mays since 2013. I've been here since 2010. I've done several different businesses. One of the things I do on the side is an Uber driver. And anytime they ask where is a good place to go, I'd always take them up to Michael Mays. It's a great place. Everybody loved it. We went there regularly when I lived out on the island. I loved the karaoke, the bands that she would have up there. And I think it would be fair to her because she had that and she was doing very well with it. It was taking off. And then the storm took it out. It's not fair to her to give it to somebody else. She busted her butt for that. And I think it's really not right. We voted, okay, just like we voted all y'all in, we also voted for that. And I think it would be good for y'all to remember that. You know, what the voters want, that's what we want. We don't want a government that's not going to listen to us after we put y'all there. It's not right. She is a great person. She loves this city, and she would do anything for it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Judge, can I just clarify so other people don't spend their time? There is nothing on the agenda regarding the concessionaire themselves today. So anybody can talk about anything, but we're not even talking about the concessionaire today. It's only about whether to rebuild and to move forward on the 60%. The concessionaire's stuff goes through the Parks Board. So I just want to make sure everybody's clear on that. Nobody's voting to take anything or give anybody anything. It's just 60% and the rebuild. That's what we're trying to get to. So just everybody's clear.
Rachel Caballero.
Rachel Caballero, 522 Hancock, Precinct 1. I guess for some context for people that have never heard me speak before, I usually speak on things that other people are too afraid to speak of because of retaliatory reasons and because, well, I have the courage to do it and I'm going to call out. It's our responsibility to call out elected officials. Today's a perfect example of government complicating matters and trying to reinvent the wheel. It's been 3 years. We've had plenty of excuses. We've had the surfers come in. We've all been here several times. A lot of the businesses out on the island that provide services to the community. Some of us put our relationships on the line with community members because we went against the second floor restaurant, but we want to keep the first floor restaurant. And there's talk now of a second building, which is complete insanity from what I understand of the insurance sheet that just got issued out today. And we have to remember any category 3, 4, or 5 hurricane is going to knock any second story building out, and just like Hannah did 3 years ago. And we have to use some common sense here in politics, guys. I don't want the county running a concession stand. You guys don't run a very good budget, so you guys shouldn't be in the business where the private sector can flourish. You had one person say how well Miss Mays did at her restaurant. Leave it alone. You guys shouldn't be selling bait. You shouldn't be a part of a concession because as a governmental body, your job is to maintenance and govern. That's it. You're not in the business to be profitable. And let's remember this too. This is a fishing pier. This isn't a hot brunch spot. This isn't where you can go boutique shopping. There's supposed to be fish guts and, people fishing and getting sweaty and stinky. We have to focus. And I think that the focus, and maybe it's because a lot of, some of you are very tenured and you're used to playing the long-term governmental game. But we as a community, you guys threw us under the bus. We gave you feedback, and we're still sitting here 3 years later waiting for action. So, we're not happy right now, and I don't know what way to express it, but get out of the private sector business. We don't want you guys there.
Thank you. Richard H. It doesn't say a last name, sorry.
Oh, my apologies.
That's okay.
It's long and hard to pronounce anyway. Richard Hafmeister, 10710 Kingwood Drive. I'll admit, as you may guess from the address, I'm on the other end of the county. I have minimal horse in this race beyond being a taxpayer in general. And I personally think the best bet is to be as aggressive as possible. Once we're already spending the money, time, collective effort, the environmental impact, you might as well build the most pier that you realistically can. Whatever that happens to be, it looks like that's option 5. Seems to me that's the most efficient use of our time. We have all gathered here, you guys have all gathered here, taxpayers have all gathered here, engineers have all gathered here, and based on my own business experience, my own opportunities leading departments, leading organizations, seems to me once you've already spent the time, you probably want to be aggressive with it and use it as efficiently as possible. Otherwise, you triage your time and move on to a new project. Having said that, there is a great deal of funding coming loose from some of these federal programs. I don't know if any of that is applicable to hurricane rebuild and repair. I have heard from credible sources that it is. I will admit I am not an expert on that. These are credible sources I work with my work. And as a taxpayer, both to the county and as a federal taxpayer, since I have a job and have to pay income tax, my recommendation is that somebody spend, whoever that is, maybe some secretary, spend some time looking at that opportunity, if you haven't already, and try to figure out if there is any additional federal or state money available that can be repurposed for this, either to ensure that we get the most product possible, or to save us a few dollars on our end, or to pay for the additional time for expediting things like the engineering elements. And that is all I have. Again, I'm not an expert on the topic. I have people at my work that are, though, and that's what they told me, and I figured I would mention it to you guys. Best of luck.
Thank you. Lamar Childress. Is it Lamar? I'm sorry, Lane? Lamar Elizabeth, sorry.
So I say Miss.
Thank you.
But Elizabeth is very feminine. So I'm Lamar Elizabeth Childress. I put in the Elizabeth. 5910 Crooked Creek Drive, Corpus Christi, Texas 78414. And I vote at Blanchmore Elementary, where I was once the school counselor there. So I am a retired school counselor with CCISD. Now, I commend you in all the work that you've done. I thank you for getting a civil engineering company from San Antonio. I read up on you. And my own goddaughter's husband is a civil engineer in San Antonio somewhere. Anyway, my first degree was home ec at A&I Kingsville, and we took consumer ed, so I give my opinion. We, the community, don't know what you mean when you're saying third party, yes, concession or restaurant, so please use both restaurant-concession or one or the other, and be clear on that, because it's a bit confusing for the vast majority of the community that lives in Corpus Christi. I'm telling you that as a home ec major. Okay, we've had a lot with the pandemic, so we're way behind in this. And that's not your fault. That was a worldwide pandemic. But let's go forward with that and get things moving. I read last night doing some research that the chair from A&I Kingsville, my alma mater, from the engineering department, which is now part of Texas A&M University, said regarding doing a restaurant that might be 2 stories high or whatever, your civil engineers will take care of that. There's things you can do even though we live where we have hurricanes. Yes, in South Texas and a lot of parts of Texas, we have hurricanes. When we're going to have them, we don't know. They do a lot of damage. It is what it is. But this is our culture, having the Bob Hall Pier. I have memories as a child going there and all. We have college students that go there, families, surfers, fishermen, families with children that make beautiful lifelong memories that I have. And our college students, yes, they go there, and our surfers. As a college student, I went there when I was at A&I Kingsville thinking, do I take economics with the business majors, my last academic course at A&I, or do I transfer over to Del Mar and da-da-da? Well, it works out. So we college students use that a great deal. We go from the Bob Hall Pier location to Malachi Beach to the national, Piper Island National Seashore. We rank way up there. We bring in people from all over the country. We draw them in to come to Padre Island, our national seashore, which is top in the country. Let's take care of them and give them the incentive to come and visit our city and go to that part where it's absolutely beautiful. So just use your civil engineers. I'm sure the chairperson at A&I Kingsville would like to give comments on the structural sound, and you'll have it all together. Thank you.
Thank you. Megan Fury.
Good afternoon. I'm Megan Fury, 13718 Captain Kidd Drive. Judge Scott, Commissioner Chesney, thank you everybody for allowing us to speak today. So I want to talk a little bit about quality of place. This is a term that I heard Brett Otting use when he was representing the Visit Corpus Christi at the Corpus Christi Association of Realtors membership luncheon just on Thursday. So very fresh information just 5 days ago. Quality of place represents what people are looking at when they are looking for a place to move or vacation to. They're looking for the amenities, they're looking for the lifestyle, and that's something that is grossly void on the island, unfortunately. We did have a nice quality of place, and then July 2020, Hannah came and snatched it away. Our White Cliff development that everybody knows about, that development represents about 600 lots. 83% of that development will represent short-term rentals. If we were to assume that there was just one structure on each lot, that's over 500 additional short-term rentals. In the past year, there have been large tracts of land sold on Packery, as well as over near the seawall. Safe to assume, even though all of that's with the Corps of Engineers, safe to assume that those are going to bring quite a few multifamily or mixed-use traffic to the island. The island, according to Brett Otting, collects the majority of the county's hotel occupancy tax, enough to represent at a minimum 40% of our fire department. Now, I'm not trying to steal Brett's numbers. This is just one that was off the top of my head that I remembered, and I'm not trying to take money from the first responders by any means. But my point with the short-term rentals and everything that's coming to the island and how much money the island brings in hotel occupancy tax, it seems to me that the amount of money required for the insurance in order to give us that quality of place can be recovered through the hotel occupancy tax from all of these developments that are happening on the island.
Can we respond to that? Because the county doesn't get hotel occupancy tax.
The county does not get any
hotel, no, just to clarify.
Okay, so
yeah, we don't receive any of those.
My mistake, because it is
the city does.
The city,
yes.
But my point being that there are ways to make up budgets in other places to get budgets from other places, and I know that there's buckets and they have to stay in the buckets. But I feel like everybody can play nice in the sandbox and maybe figure out a way to subdivides the bucket. So quality of place, that's all we're asking. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. I'm gonna go to these online. First, Lisa Hernandez, if you want to unmute.
Hi, commissioners and county judge. My name is Lisa Osborne Hernandez. I reside at 5826 Yano Drive, Corpus Christi. I am in Commissioner Hernandez's district. Before my husband and I moved down here and became residents of Wessex County, we lived in Travis County, yet we spent almost every weekend here in Corpus Christi, specifically fishing on Bob Hall Pier. When it was my weekend to pay, this was before we were married, when it was my weekend to pay, dinner would be at Michael May's, hotels were on the island. When it was my now hubby's turn, it was Whataburger and a dive on Leatherworks. That's just that was pretty much just an aside. What I really want to know, though, is why? Why has it taken county commission? This is now going to be at least fourth, perhaps fifth or sixth structure that this court is going to vote upon. And I realize some were before the current court. But in this one, you asked for input from the public. You got input for the public. That was the design. That was voted on by the commission. Then we started from scratch. The building of Bob Hall Pier cannot just be a simple little pier. If that's what it's going to be, I'll go over to Portland. I'll go to Indian Point Pier instead. Time is of the essence. You've had the time. Why the delays? It's not our fault. We just elected those of you sitting on that dais. Therefore, it is your responsibility. Make a decision. Now, personally, yes, I would love to see Michael May's back. I would love to see a third-party concessionaire back, separate from a blasted bait stand. I also would prefer to have a public space in there somewhere. When we bring the grandkids down, some of them last about an hour fishing, then they want to just go and sit down, and if they had a green space to sit, they would have that. So please consider that too. Listen to your constituents, however. Thank you.
Thank you. Kay Snapko, you're up next if you want to unmute.
Thank you very much, Judge Commissioners. My name is Catherine Snapko, 402 Delmar Boulevard. As a local restaurant owner, I speak in favor of option 5. Restaurants are the lifeblood of any community, and we are so fortunate to have a unique community on the island. And that community is not just the folks that live there, it's the folks that choose to visit the island, Bob Hall Pier, and I would urge the decision to be made for option 5. You can't have the full experience without being able to sit down, have a nice meal, enjoy the unique view, the experience, and the ability to congregate with friends. And so I'm certainly biased as a restaurateur, but I know that restaurants bring people together, and we want everyone who chooses to come and visit our area to have the opportunity to be a part of that community, and they could do it by visiting a restaurant. So I urge you to vote for option 5. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sam Longoria, you're up next.
Thank you. Sam Longoria. My address is 8237 Garner Drive, Corpus Christi, Texas 78414. Born and raised in Corpus Christi. A lot of experiences here. Very fortunate to have a family, three kids, 20-year-old stepson and 5 and a 3-year-old. And so, I can remember growing up. It was always good to go to the beach, but then, as I was in college and whatnot, had good opportunities and times at Michael Mays. And I can tell you in my industry, I'm in finance. Every once in a while, I have an opportunity to take prospects to Michael Mays. They would want to come and check out our beaches, and that was definitely a place to go to. The thing that I can say most, I'm not a huge beach person, but I definitely enjoyed, when that time came, going to Michael Mays. That kind of got me past the sand and whatnot in my vehicle. So, it's just one thing to look at it. You got to consider kind of going back to the quality of life. A lot of people ask, young adults, hey, what keeps you here in Corpus Christi? I think Corpus is a great location, great place. I mean, we have a beautiful beach, and with a restaurant like that, I mean, it helped immensely in my opinion. And so I'm also, just to point that out, part of the United Chamber, but one of the biggest things, kind of going back to Ms. Snapka talking about just restaurants, they're a huge part of our economy and our area. So, it definitely, it's hard to see one go down, but I understand with the opportunity of looking at option 5, that'll keep that at least to go into fruition. So, again, I'm in support of option 5, and I hope you guys do the same.
Thank you. Sharon Welshler.
Yes, hello. Hi, I'm Sharon Wexler. I live at 6741 Sharks Court here in Corpus Christi. And my husband and I also own some property on the island as well as our home here. And we are definitely interested in getting that pier built as soon as possible. We want you guys to support the tourism industry and put the funds in that are required to make that investment, so that we will have a really nice pier. We want the really nice restaurant to go with it, so that we can enjoy that. I have friends that have been here recently, and they were disappointed that the pier was not rebuilt already. And so I am for voting on option number 5, the pier with the restaurant or third-party concession. And I just want everyone to vote yes on that. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that's everyone online. May, if you want to come up, May even doesn't speak now.
I did want to speak. I wasn't able to raise my hand.
Yes, please.
Sorry. Is that okay if I go ahead and speak now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. Elizabeth Erickson, 15430 Gypsy Street. Born and raised on Padre Island, moved away for quite a few years, but I'm back now and happy to be living back on Padre Island. I'm in favor of option 5, and I'll keep this pretty short and sweet as I share the sentiment of many people who have spoken already today. Pretty frustrating to see the delays and disappointing to see some of the enhancements removed from the plan. But please, at minimum, give us back what we had before. Like it was already said today, a big, beautiful pier with a big, beautiful restaurant as soon as possible, in favor of option 5. Thank you.
Thank you. And Debbie Wall is wanting to speak. You didn't get the opportunity to sign up. I'm sorry, Debbie, if you'll state your name and address too.
Hello, thank you so much for letting me speak today. So my name's Debbie Wall. I live at 15909 Punta Bonaire on the island. My thing is that, yes, we need to get this going. It's a community filled with not only residents that live there full time, but we have many new developments that are going to bring many visitors and short-term rentals. Bob Hall Pier and Michael Mays Restaurant was an amenity that we have very few of on the island. We have very few amenities such as that. You can go to the beach and then come up to the restaurant and watch people fish and grab a meal and grab a drink and socialize with your friends and meet new friends. So it's just time for us to really move forward and make a decision and get this going. So my choice is for option 5 and hope that you do choose that option for us. So thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now, May Mendoza. Nardone, I'm sorry, which, okay, good, thank you, sorry.
I'm keeping everybody.
I'm so sorry.
Now, Judge, I was going to want to ask questions, and I'm sorry I had an appointment that I couldn't miss earlier, so that's why I was late and couldn't sign in. I wanted to speak as part of the agenda part, so I can maybe have, more back and forth and no limit. Is that okay?
I think you have your 3 minutes, but I think since this is part of the agenda, if any commissioners have a question or want to ask you something, then that could be extended, but I think I would.
Well, first of all, thank you. As you know, my name is May Mendoza. I am the existing third-party concessionaire. I'm going to get used to saying that. But, it was just brought to my attention late yesterday, and so I didn't know about this, so I'm really not that prepared. But I guess what I want to do is I want to ask some questions, because people ask me questions daily. They don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. I try to stay up with it, and I've tried to just kind of wait and let y'all decide, where we were going to go from here. But it has been over 3 years, and it has been very difficult. And I continue to have to pay for expenses that are involved. One of the main things that keeps coming up is the insurance issue. And being an insurance agent, I'm well versed on that. I still have insurance. I've kept my insurance. The most important thing that was important was the flood insurance. And the reason that I kept it is because I still had some improvements up there, like my bar and some things that we put up there. And I wanted to make sure that it was too heavy and big to remove and to find a place to store. So I kept them up there, so I was able to keep insurance because I have, that's worth something, right? And also because, insurance has skyrocketed. We know that. It's been very difficult for everybody. Home, auto, commercial, it's doubled, even tripled. And y'all are seeing that effect here. And I think the confusion is it's not a matter of if you can get insurance. You can. It's just a matter of how much is it going to cost, right? So the other question they ask is, well, why is it so important for just your building to have insurance when nothing else has to be insured? You're not insuring, my understanding, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, none of the other county facilities are going to be insured either. Possibly, I don't know, Horace Caldwell Pier has been the question. But what about the building? This is what they've asked, that y'all are building, the new building that's going to house the other concession, I guess I should say. Is that what we're calling it, where the bait stand and the bathrooms? Is that one?
They're just redoing that one. That one's already built. That's not a new build. They're just upgrading it. But that's new construction, but it's in an existing facility already built. It just is being upgraded.
The one at Horace Caldwell?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then the
And
new
we
one.
do have insurance for the county. Let me clarify. We're
Okay,
not-
so there was
not-
some confusion on that.
We, as along with other people, because insurance skyrocketed, we dropped ours down quite a bit. But the county does have insurance. I want to clear up that misconception there.
Okay, yeah, because that is one, and then so then they asked about Horace
Double the
Caldwell, and I was
price as well.
I don't know. So then the other location that y'all have, like the concession that you're going to build now on Bob Hall Pier, is that one going to be insured? So that's not going to be insured either, but yet we're still building it, right?
You're getting ahead of me in my argument, but
Okay. Thank you. I'm going to use the questions people are asking me, Commissioner Chesney, so I just wanted to be clear. So good, that's a good argument to have, because why is it just important? So I do want to remind everybody, and I'm going to email it to you, just so that y'all do remember what we do bring to the table with Michael Mays. We are the only concessionaire that to date was able to clear a profit and make a profit and pay a sizable amount to the county. In the 7 years, less than 7 years, because we didn't even make it to 7 years, and that included having COVID and being shut down for a couple of months, included some of the coldest winters when we first opened in the first 6 months. I don't think anybody here was in office yet, but Commissioner Chesney, you probably remember, we were running out of a trailer food truck. Were you Gonzalez, Commissioner Gonzalez? We were running out of a food truck for the first 6 months because they were still finishing the now third-party concessionaire building that they're going to rebuild. So we were running at little capacity, but still, in less than 7 years, we gave $750,000 in rents. That's quite a bit of money. So we pretty much pay for ourselves. As far as maintenance, we did all our own maintenance. The only thing we ever asked for was the heaters that came in once a year, that would be taken down at the end of the season because it got cold up there. And of course, they didn't want to keep it up there because it would get ruined right with the rust up there. So that, and then we were tied to the lines with the water lines whenever a water line broke, but which affected everybody. Y'all had to come take care of that. Other than that, we were pretty self-sufficient. Like you said, I'm glad to see that something came down with the restaurant building because we do supply all of our own equipment. The only thing that you did supply, just to be clear, were things that were permanent. For example, the hood vent and the dishwasher was provided by the county, which those two things shouldn't be too expensive or make much change, but those are the only two things that you both paid for. But I just kind of want to go over another couple. So basically in the last 12 months that we were open, we gave a paid out $135,000 in the last 12 months. So again, I think that we kind of helped pay for ourselves and maybe could help pay for that insurance. I do understand that I am under contract, and right now, there is a limit on what we pay, but when it goes out to bid, of course, we're going to renegotiate that. And so basically what happens whenever you have it cost being a business owner, what do? It gets passed on to the consumer some way, and everybody has seen everything's gone up. Other restaurants have had gone up in pricing, not just food, but insurance, rent, everything. It's a trickle effect. So in the end, hopefully you will be able to see some of that money, kind of what Megan alluded to. There's other buckets where we could find that money to be able to pay for that. The other thing is, when Harvey paid out with the insurance, there was money that was given and paid for that. I would hope that that money would still be available, because we've been hearing rumors, and so I want to stop this rumor too. So Commissioner Judge or any of the other commissioners, they're saying there is no money now for the restaurant and to be built. I know. So I hadn't heard that either. So why were all these other options of not putting the third-party concessionaire building back up? Because there has been money already earmarked, I thought, correct?
You may have missed that if you weren't here for Lewis's presentation, that was the question that he addressed for me, which was we have enough money in the budget currently to do option 5, which would include the restaurant space.
Okay, so there is no money in jeopardy.
That's an inaccurate rumor too.
Other than.
So many of those out there.
Can I go ahead and talk to you? It's like, let's be clear.
Okay.
Here's a question. I didn't know, because we're letting you speak and it's open comment, but it is about the agenda item, and it's gone on over and over again. And if you're talking about the question of funds, it is not about whether we have the funds that have initially been set here. They haven't been used with our budget deficit, everything else. But let me be clear, we have gone through a terrible budget deficit. We only have county funds, and we have dipped into our reserves. We are below our reserves. We have been prudent. Every department 100% participated in cuts to every department. To say that this is not important for some of us that maybe aren't on board is not true in the least, because we absolutely believe this is important. We believe it's exciting for our community. We are just in a terrible financial situation with other absolute responsibilities as county commissioners and judge with our other buildings. As we were talking about just a second ago with our insurance, we dropped down to half our coverage and our insurance went up, doubled. We're not covering some of our other buildings. You are a private restaurant. I think I've heard enough stories. I don't need to hear about how awesome your restaurant was. I absolutely believe it. I think it was probably an awesome restaurant. I absolutely think it's a great option for us if we can afford it, if we were in a better financial position. I hate to have to stand here and tell you, or sit here and tell you, yeah, the Pier, let's do this, maybe is my personal opinion. I don't know what this board and this body's going to do. The Pier, with the option to come back and do this when we are in better financial capability, I think is an awesome plan. but in good faith, financially and prudent with taxpayer dollars. I have big concerns with us doing this, and we need a roof on this building. This is our number one priority, the buildings that we have, the county has. So, I know I'm going to go against Commissioner Chesney and my thought process with it, but I want it to be very clear. I think this is a great thing. It's a great plan. I hear wonderful things about this. The island is booming. I think it's going to be great. I think in a year or two, I hope to God we're in better shape that we can do something like this. Right now, the shape we're in, it's serious.
So then my next question would be this that has been asked. So then if there is no money, which was originally there.
We're not saying that. We haven't voted yet.
Your question,
Okay.
she's talking about the insurance, cost of insurance and other things. There's been, the money for the construction is still in there.
Yes.
She's talking about the general fund budget being able to pay for that insurance that's so expensive. So we're talking two different things. The money is still in there, absolutely, to construct.
Okay, so then I guess that's where it gets confusing. So the money is there to rebuild. It's a question of the insurance to be able to pay for it.
And that's where, to me, you bring up part of the argument that
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I appreciate it. It's a good segue into letting you stand there a little longer while I talk, and then you can respond. Because we're not insuring the pier. The other building's not going to be insured. Of course, Caldwell Pier is not insured. The concession building won't be insured there. Anything over the coast, we can't afford to insure because of the general fund budget that we're in now. My other argument, though, is that if we build this building, by the time it gets built on the time frame it's on, we'll be heading into another budget. We don't know what the next budget will look like. The parametric option that Mr. Carlisle came up with, that nobody else came up with, was really a good option because it's not just coastal properties. It helps cover the entire county, and it's really something I think, regardless of this building, we as a county should be looking at, because it is another form of insurance that we can use if it blows down in Robstown, if it blows down in Bishop, if it blows down in Banquetti. So the parametric was a great option had we not headed into the budget we headed into because of no fault of other than the fact that the refineries and the Presel District are disputing their values, and we lost $5 to $6 million in revenue that no one could have foreseen. And despite what the speaker said earlier, actually we're really good at budgets here because we were able to make cuts and not raise your taxes, and we're the only governmental entity in this whole community that voted for the no new tax rate, despite one of the worst budgets I've ever seen in my life. So this Commissioner's Court did an amazing job, and I'd like to challenge any other entity to do the same thing and not raise your taxes like we did in the worst possible budget ever. So the argument is we don't do these other projects either. So, but we don't need the insurance for this project until later. And so we're exposed right now for I.B. McGee, the concession building, the one that's left. So if something happens between now and then, and it blows down, the chances of us rebuilding that are pretty slim. The chances of us being able to, if this comes down again, I can't even begin to tell you, and everybody talks about 3 years, 3 years, 3 years. I'd like someone to figure out how fast they think they can find $27 million that we found and that this court supported. Everybody kind of forgets that FEMA screwed us around and didn't come to the table and give us what we wanted. So this court spent months and months and months coming up with those monies. So, but it's super easy for people to come up here and say, it's taken too long. Well, heck yeah, it's taken too long, but you can't design a pier overnight, and we didn't have any money. We didn't have $27 million lying around. I mean, you know that. You were involved in a lot of those conversations, the Parks Board. And this court unanimously, both courts unanimously supported $27 million worth of allocations to the island for this rebuild of the pier. And that should be stood up and applauded, and quite frankly, a lot of times all we get is yelled at because they don't like exactly how we've done it. That's okay. We're big boys and girls. We can take that. I mean, that's okay. But this court allocated $27 million, and it took us probably a year to find the $27 million. So from then on, and then we had some other things that happened, right? I think, and it wasn't because, there was a little bit of a delay because we went from a 1 pile to a 2 pile, which I think was the best thing to do from a safety standpoint. I can't find a 1 pile pier anywhere in America, and that doesn't mean it wasn't worked, not criticizing anybody there. So there was a little bit of delay there.
Yeah, and it was $3 million too.
Yeah, and it was,
just so we
and it
know.
was more. But at the end of the day, we've still got the same budget. Our engineer team has come up with a way to get those pilings in there, still have the restaurant in there, and still be in budget.
Not restaurant.
Third-party concessionaire. We've still got, that's amazing. I mean, that's an amazing feat that we added that expense and still have the restaurant in there and still have the 2 pilings. I mean, congratulations to the engineer. That's great. I mean, this is, but yet, so I think, I hope, and it doesn't matter. I mean, the judge and I agree on a lot, and we don't have to agree on everything. We just don't maybe agree on this one. I hope she'll change her mind before the end of the meeting, because I think we need to create a purpose. I think Megan's right. I think we need to create a sense of place on that island, and that third-party concessionaire space did that. It helped do that. It wasn't the only thing that did it. We're going to also spend maybe $5 million on Briscoe King Pavilion, which is going to help create the sense of space there, which is an awesome facility we're going to build on the island. We spent millions of dollars. Hold on, we spent millions. I'm on a rant here. Hold on.
Okay, that's
we
okay.
Spent,
I'll let you
we spent $3 million on that RV park. We've spent millions of dollars on the island thanks to this court, for allowing that to happen. And we've got the money. We're not asking anybody for any more money. We're just saying, look, let's spend it now, let's do it, and then let's start looking for that parametric insurance between now and when it's actually built. That's my hope today that we will get to, because I think we need to build this third-party concessionaire building and put that dadgum restaurant back in it. And I really hope that at least 2 of the members of this court will support that, because we're not asking for another dime here. We're not coming back for more money. We're just going to build something that's not insured, just like the rest of it isn't insured. So if you want to respond to that, please feel free. But
go ahead,
I mean,
I as I said before, there's a lot of things we agree on, and absolutely nothing is in question here about the Bob Hall Pier being built. Nothing is in question here today about how wonderful and how great your concession stand was for the community over there, and can be in the future if we're in a better shape. To me, I stand here today just because of the situation and the things we weren't able to do throughout the county. We are still investing on the island. We absolutely believe in great things on the island. You put yourselves in our shoes, a private restaurant that's great for the community, or being here, and we have made cuts throughout the community. We have just been through collective bargaining. We have cut $8 million basically from our budget. $5 million absolute cuts, $8 million from our budget. We have a roof that leaks that we are trying to come up with money. I'm sorry, but my responsibility, my fiscal responsibility self kicks in that yes, go ahead with the pier. Let's hold off till next year. Let's see what this climate is for next year. Let's see if we have this same scenario where we have to cut again. If we have to cut again and we're already down with our budget, I don't know where else we'd cut. So
I'm not clear though, Judge, on what exactly you're saying though. So you're saying that we're not going to build the third-party concessionaire?
I'm going to make a motion, and then we're going to see what happens.
Yes.
That's what's
okay. Because can I?
Do you have another question, Ms. Mendoza, that you'd like to ask?
And we have someone else that wants to speak quickly that's hand is up as well. I'm just saying my opinion. As much as I do agree wholeheartedly, I have serious reservations that it is financially responsible for us given the future we're looking at.
And Judge, I need about 5 minutes to go to the restroom, and I don't want anybody to think I'm being rude. So if I'm...
I say no.
Okay,
I'm
well,
sorry, yes, go
no.
ahead. We'll take a 5-minute recess.
Yeah, I don't want to take a recess. 'Cause I don't want anybody to leave, and I don't want Tom to think we're trying to table anything. So I can go. I just want everybody to know that's where I'm going. I'll be right back. So keep talking.
We may vote while you're out. No, I'm joking.
You're not gonna vote.
Would hope not. So I mean, I know there's others that want to speak, but you know, like I said, there's a lot of things that I think are confusing, and so it does sound like y'all are going to vote today on one of these 5 options without the park board even coming back with their recommendation and finding out other information as far as other options. Another thing I wanted to bring up is before y'all decided to go with the TERS for the Briscoe King Pavilion, which by the way, you can't get insurance for either, it sounds like there was options for the TERS money to also be used towards, not that we need the money, but we're still moving forward with other plans for building other things. And the one thing that everybody did ask for, we had a survey with over 2 surveys with over 2,000 people with almost 90% surveyed saying they wanted the restaurant. Not to mention the petitions with hundreds, almost 1,000 signatures that said they wanted it. And so we're going to get rid of, we are going to
I'm not saying get rid of it, that's not the plan here.
I know that. I know that, Judge. But the thing is, if it's already gone 3 years and you're going to put it off another 2 years, you're going to somehow find money, then it's never going to get billed. At the same time, somebody that does generate revenue that it would bring money back in, you're not going to generate more revenue with more restrooms up there. You're not going to generate more revenue with the bait shop up there that you would get with the restaurant. So if you're looking for revenue, I would say the revenue.
And we build the restaurant, not the pier.
I'm not saying not build a pier. No, I said the bait shop. There's a difference. Okay, so I'm not saying don't build a pier, but there's a lot of extras that went into the pier, like the second piling that's $3 million extra more dollars, like the bait and all the extra. I'm not saying we don't need extra restrooms out there, but you have 2 separate sets of restrooms. Nobody really used those restrooms anyway. They used ours because again, they were always dirty. They were never maintained, and everybody wanted to come into the restaurant anyway.
Can I get this Bailey, who has been waiting to speak, and then you can stay in case you need to say. I know you wanted to answer more questions and stuff. You don't.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Sorry.
I'll be right here.
Bailey, if you want to unmute.
Hi everyone. Bailey Butler, 14802 Windward Drive. Thank you for having me on and just being able to talk a little bit about this. I've really just kind of had to sit and take all of this in. I think it's pretty clear what everyone wants. Obviously, option 5, and I understand this session today is just to decide on option 1 through 5. I really wanted to have a chance to say that I think that it's important for the board and for all of you guys that are going to make this decision today, is really to show like what message that you're showcasing right now, and really that is like how important is local business to you. It's clear that we need Bob Hall Pier. That is a staple piece of Corpus Christi. That is what makes Corpus Christi is Bob Hall Pier. I know everyone that comes out when I go out, it's just, I couldn't tell you how many times I've heard that name from local people to visitors. And then on top of that, Michael Mace. I understand that right now we're not even deciding on, it's obviously for restaurant, but then who gets to take it. I think to me, that's just pushing things off that don't need to be pushed off. It's a little bit ridiculous to me, and that's just my personal opinion.
Yeah,
but,
what's up, boss?
I think what we're really trying to tell everyone here is what's the story that we're going for, because the story for me is that a hurricane took out a staple piece of the island, an absolute staple piece, and a local business at that. And it has taken this long, and while I understand that there has to go a lot with getting money, you guys have done a wonderful job at what you've gotten. I think that the importance of local business has been forgotten. I personally, I know you mentioned building the other pier. I don't even care about that other pier right now as much as I care about Bob Hall Pier and Michael Mays coming back. So I just kind of wanted to speak out and say my 2 cents on that is the story of how important it is for local business and for specifically Bob Hall Pier and Michael Mays to come back, because I think that that's what the community wants, and that's what makes a staple piece for Corpus Christi.
Thank you. Did you want to say anything else, May? I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just want to first, you've been there a while.
No problem. Thank you for that, Judge. So yeah, I mean, it is a concern because now it looks like we're going to be putting it off again, and it is very discerning.
No,
I know.
we're
Well,
not. No, we're not.
Okay.
We're not
Okay.
going to put it off. I mean, it's going to be. We're going to vote this up or down today. So that's what's going to happen.
So I guess there's not going to be any waiting for the park board to chime in.
No,
is
they
gonna be
want the restaurant.
Okay.
They already said it. Troy said it. You heard it. I mean, they want the restaurant. I'm going to make a motion and see what happens.
Okay. Well, I would hope that y'all would make the right decision. That's what everybody wants, and it's the one thing that all of us, at least in the community, most of us that go up there, and this is something I hear over and over again as well, we don't go up there to go to the pier. We don't go up there to fish. We go up to go to the restaurant and enjoy the amenity, whether it's a private restaurant or not. It's a private restaurant that the county provides. It's not me just, hey, I just said I wanted to use your place. It was a contract that went out. It was an RFQ, RFP. I don't know the difference between them. All I know is I put my bid in and I was awarded it, and it is something that makes the county money. And $750,000 isn't just chump change. That's a lot of money, not to mention all the money I have put in. I still have a business loan that I'm paying on that we had just started paying an SBA loan because we got shut down with the COVID, so we were able to get money to help keep us open because we were all affected by that. And I know this isn't your problem, but I just bought out my business partner 2 weeks before, so I'm vested. I put in over $1 million of my own money up there because I turned around, instead of taking profits, I put it back in there to make it better. And now it's all gone. And so
you had insurance, right?
Yes, but it doesn't cover all the costs and the costs that I continue to have.
Too hard. Yeah, I know exactly what insurance covers.
So it doesn't cover 100%, not to mention the costs that I still incur every month, which I pay for insurance, I pay for storage units. You were nice enough to continue with one that y'all have with some of your stuff in
You
there.
don't pay for storage at the county.
No.
Yeah,
I pay for
your stuff.
Yeah,
Yes.
some of the stuff with your stuff that I had extra room for. I pay for storage. I pay for insurance. I pay for loans. I still have a lot of expenses that, because I did get insurance money, it's slowly dwindling away. So what's going to be left by the time we reopen? How is that fair to me? But yet y'all still get a building that's not going to be insured, that's going to be opened, that's costing just maybe almost as close to what my building is. My building's less than $3 million. I'm not sure the cost of that, but again, what everybody wants, and nobody's going to go up to there to go to the bathroom. I mean, just to go to the bathroom, it's not going to make any money unless y'all are going to charge for that too. I'm not sure, but I mean, it just doesn't seem fair. I would just hope that you would consider and actually vote for option 5. I know there's a couple of commissioners there that could care less if we were there or not, but I wish that you would care because your constituents care and they are paying attention. Thank you.
Commissioner Chesney, you said you had a motion?
Judge, yes, my motion is to I gotta think for a second how I want to word it because I'm a little caught off guard by that. Okay, so my motion is to support option 5 to keep the pavilion, to add the concession building, and to rebuild that third-party concession building back to where it was. That would be my motion.
Do you have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion?
Just a little bit.
Yes.
Again, I want to remind the court that all this is putting it back to where it was. When we rebuild in this county, we have always tried to rebuild back to the position that it was prior to something being rebuilt. And that's all that this is. The money is in for construction. It has not been taken out. The revenue that this building provided was significant. The quality of life and quality of place that this provided to this community was significant. I think we have time to go and search out the insurance question because the building's not going to be built. I don't think within this budget cycle, based on these things, or if it is, it's going to be very close to the end of the next year's budget. And I do think that parametric insurance is something we as a court should really seriously look at, not just for this building, but for the county in general, because I think it's insurance. We're a coastal community, and yes, we're more likely to have hurricane situations on the coast, but they also do move inland. This could have just as easily been the Richard Orchard Fairground. This could have been easily something in anybody else's precinct, and I, just like you have done for me in this precinct, you stood up and you've allocated the money to rebuild it. There's not a request here to spend any extra money whatsoever. It's in the budget, and I think it's important that we rebuild this to the point at which it was, which includes option 5. So I would ask the court to consider those things and vote in favor of the motion that I've made and Commissioner Morris has seconded.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say same sign. Nay.
Nay.
Now I would like to ask for my motion to see if you can tell me what gets us to the point where we could do this, pick this back up in a couple of years when we're better financially. Which diagram does that best?
I don't. That's an engineer question. I don't know.
We can make a motion, we can look at it.
You have done a great injustice to the islanders, and once again, we get tremendous. And the island knows
I appreciate it. The rest of the community, yes. Can you give me any idea, or do we want to just bring this up, put it on hold for a
Excuse me,
while?
Judge.
Yes.
I just want to say, isn't the island experiencing development right now?
Lots of development.
I mean, come on. There's people that lost their jobs here, okay, because we couldn't afford them. Okay, I feel for Ms. May, but we also need to look forward for employees here that are, and then we're probably going to have to end up raising their premiums on the insurance that they can't afford because they don't get paid the way they're supposed to.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Y'all need to sit down
Judge,
and let's do this.
Judge,
Go ahead. Yes,
point-
Commissioner Modis.
George, point of just clarification. So the funding, as a reminder, that funding that we're talking about to fund the pier, how much comes from our general budget? How much comes from the federal ARPA funding?
None of it comes from ARPA except for Commissioner Chesney's $1 million. The funding comes from COs and the insurance settlement. The insurance settlement can be used on anything. The COs have to be spent on construction, infrastructure, things like that. Given the situation we're in, that's the only reason that I am not voting to proceed with this right now, because of the budget and the financial situation we are in. Believe me, I would love to do this for the island and anybody else. This is a private restaurant. If we were in any different situation financially, I would. I am very sorry that I have offended a lot of you, but I have to make the best decision for the rest of the 380,000 people that live in this county.
Judge, could I ask?
You know, also, what really bothered me was the young lady said that she didn't really care about Caldwell Pier. Well, that's the difference between some people out there and us. You know, we have to care about everything. And it's on us if we don't take care of Caldwell Pier or Bob Hall Pier. Bob Hall Pier was there before anybody else was there. And we should have a Bob Hall Pier. You know, it's not, I'm not going to go into how we got this thing built illegally. I'm not going to go into the story because y'all have heard that story. But y'all don't seem to understand that. You don't seem to want to understand that. You know, that we didn't give people an opportunity to a chance to, there's nothing wrong with the restaurant. I'm against the bar. I'm not against the restaurant. But if you don't have the money, and you know, we just told we were going to raise the taxes. You know, the money's got to come from somewhere. You know, and believe me, well, when you're worried about one thing, we have to worry about hundreds of things.
You know, that's the difference. You know, and I know you got houses, you pay taxes, I pay taxes too. I only have one house, that's all I can afford. I'm not gonna afford one. You know, I'm just saying, you make one bet, one decision that's not to your favorite. Everybody wants to, call people names and, do everything else. And, it's not really fair that, because nobody in this table here right now, anybody can say that we sure don't really care.
We have to remember.
Being part of Nueces County, this is ours. Nueces County is ours. It's not, and it's our building. It's not. I keep saying my building. This is not your building. Everything in that pier is ours. It's Nueces County. I don't know who gave you the building, but it's not your building. It's Nueces County. So, I'm sorry that, I'm not changing my mind because you know how I felt all along. I've been doing this I don't know how many times and how many battles, and I've never changed my mind. So this is how I've always felt, and I continue to feel this way. I don't think we need a two-tier restaurant. I don't think we need a bar, maybe a restaurant, but that's something to look at maybe in a year from now, see where we're at financially. So I don't know.
Thank you.
Judge, I'm going to get Mr. Michael to come up if it's okay. I think you meant 3, not 4.
I don't remember which the options are, but let me see if I can shed some light on what the plans currently show at 60%, because it may get you kind of where you want to go. Judge, Commissioners, good afternoon. I'm John Michael. A couple weeks ago, Scott Harris and Lewis sent the 60% design plans to me. They, at the same time, sent those to Ron Guzman and Shane Torno over at Priest Nichols to provide our review comments. And we've done that, and we've returned those comments back to Scott Harris, and we'll meet with Lewis to go over those comments. You don't want to have too many cooks in the kitchen, so Shane and I sat down and kind of consolidated our thoughts and put those in a memo to Scott, and he has that now. So he'll be sharing that with Lewis, and we'll sit down as a team and see if we can work through it. But these plans actually include the foundation for the option, I don't know if it was 3 or 4, that ties the existing building to the new pier. So that's in here. And that would be a prudent move to go ahead and build that foundation while you've got pile drivers out there and the concrete people.
So you could come back and do that later.
Exactly.
That's what I wanted to know.
Exactly
what can we
you
do
do.
if we're planning for the future? But
And that's option 3.
Yeah,
which is to keep the pavilion at public space, which would, I think, right, John? Because the 4 is demo the pavilion. You don't want to demo.
I'm sorry, it's option 3.
Right. So if that way you keep the pavilion and add the public space, which gives you the opportunity to go back and revisit the restaurant.
When you get the bids in and you know what it's going to cost, you may
it's even
find
the
that
bids.
you don't
It's
need
the
that
county
20.
budget right now.
That's
It's
right.
not really about the bids. We're trying to cut back on expenses. We have cut back on everything. So while it may come under bid, as I said, we have other things that we're neglecting because we don't have the funds for. So we want to have the option
These plans do
later.
include that foundation.
Just the foundation,
Just the
not
foundation.
redoing the building, that we could come back and we could do this in a year or two if funding becomes available. And if our next year's budget is better,
Yeah.
thank you. That's what I needed to know on option 3. Then I would make a motion to go with option 3 and moving forward with our plans. For review, yes.
I have to second that. So let's talk about that because
This just gets, we have a motion and a second. This just gives the foundation for if we can come back next year or the year after. The structure, because you are gonna have people out there doing pilings and things that will cost more to bring somebody back. If we have the base foundation done, I'm all for planning for this in the future. I don't want to see this go away. I am very sorry the county's in the shape we're in, but I have to be responsible as well. So that's my motion and second.
can just discuss it. We need to clarify this because this is going to get confusing too. So I strongly still believe option 5 was the best way to go. But at the same time, the only way that I see that we can keep this alive is to keep the money in the budget that we have in the budget, is to do option 3, because there's not a third vote that agrees with me on that. So this at least keeps it alive. And so I want to make sure that that vote is very clearly explained and understood, so that someone doesn't think I'm bailing on option 5. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to support this because I want to, at the very least, keep the hope alive that we can still do that restaurant, and I don't see any other way based on the way the vote went out today. So I'm just hoping that the media reports this right, that this is still, there is still a glimmer of hope here, and that, I mean, you know, I'm not accused of bailing on what I believe is the right thing to do, but I don't know how else to keep this alive but to vote for option 3. So
Ms.
that's where
Mendoza
I
would
am.
like to ask us a question.
Thank you, Judge, for that opportunity. So then my question now is this. So the money that was already earmarked to build the third-party concessionaire, where does that go? Does that get saved to still build it? Because that's what it was earmarked for and voted for. And
That's the only way that I can see keeping it in the budget, is by voting for option 3, because it keeps it in, because we still have to have money to build the foundation and build the public space and so forth. So it keeps a glimmer of hope alive, and it doesn't take any money out of the budget today.
Okay, so then if something...
Wait, I have a question on that then too. I wasn't thinking you keep the whole amount. We cover the
Well,
cost of what
that's a different vote. Then you're going to have to make that motion, and that's another fight, because if you're taking money out of the pier, we don't even know what the budget for the pier is at this point. It's speculation. It could be, we could come in, we could, you know, not come in, and I mean,
and how does that help me with my financial situation right now if it's just sitting there and we're not doing anything?
you
Might as
can
well move
vote.
forward.
I mean, you can do whatever you want, Judge, and if you've got your votes, then I can't do anything about it. I mean, I'm going to strongly oppose that too.
I did not want to do away with it. I wanted to cut it down and plan for the future, but we won't be building the whole restaurant or anything, so I can't see why the money sitting there does us any
But we
good.
don't know what option 3 costs. So
That's what I wanted to get a cost for moving forward, and the remainder that was allocated for this, I guess I need to change my motion to amend it to that once we get a cost. The remaining funds that were allocated to the restaurant that won't go into building would come back to the county, and whether that we use COs or the insurance money or however that comes back, that we could possibly use on other responsibilities that the county has.
Then I withdraw any support for that whatsoever.
We don't have that amount right now.
We don't have the cost for the restaurant or the cost for the concession stand? For a concession? I mean, I thought we had both costs.
The cost for the, actually,
The third option.
the cost for the restaurant or the third-party concession building and build-out is, if I remember right, it's in the documents, I believe it's like 2.7 million. However, that also includes costs to repair the foundation of the existing pavilion, you know, do the, redo the roof, you know, redo the lights inside the pavilion. So that's something that, if y'all elect to go that way, obviously we would sit down with the Parks Board and say, do we do nothing to the pavilion or just build the foundation? I think those details can be worked out. But at this point, we did look at the cost breakdown for the third-party concession building, and it would take too long to actually separate out those parts and pieces in order to meet today. You know, so right now I do not know what option 3 that was shown there would actually cost, because part of it is, what are we going to do with the pavilion? I mean, we could just take the rolling doors off and leave it open.
Yeah.
You know, there's all sorts of different variations of what could be done, and each one of those variations would affect the cost.
Well then,
But really, I would second what John Michael said, is that at least building that foundation allows it to be done within the permit, and it can be designed for a building of the size shown on the drawings right now so that could be added.
But the foundation was
future.
included in the building. Just the restaurant repairs and the extension was the 2.7 you were talking about?
That is the building above the foundation.
So the 2.7 is building the building, the finishing the restaurant. So you could safely say if we're not going to build, we could pull the 2.7 back until we get ready to build.
If you did nothing to the pavilion.
Yeah.
If you do nothing to the pavilion, if you don't build a public space, if you don't build a foundation,
I thought he said the foundation is
The
included. in it.
foundation for
This is
the
just
building would be
building and the
included.
roof and stuff.
right, but then you're also saying you don't know the cost to do all the repairs on the existing building. And
We
that's,
don't have that separated
and that's
out.
in there in the 2.7, so you don't even know what that number is, right?
Yeah, if we wanted to do repairs to the pavilion, the underside, repairs to the rolling doors, et cetera, it would be something less than 2.7 million that you'd be using, that you would be saving. The exact amount less, I do not know.
I don't know why we get options without prices.
Well, while you're thinking about what you're going to do on that,
Down
can
and see, the 2.7 comes up to 2 million, you know, if we knew what the cost of those constructions were.
I think you got to give them a chance to come back and tell you what that number is at the very least, because I don't
Well,
know
then
how else
I'm making the motion to do option number 3, and you come back with the cost estimates that could be saved by just doing the basic foundation and preparing for the future to continue with the third-party concession.
We can do that.
So I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm not sure how to vote. I'm going to abstain because I'm so confused on what we're doing. So I want to have some hope alive, but I don't think there's going to be any hope after the next meeting anyway. So for me to
Commissioner
vote
Modis?
for this and be confused by it, I got to abstain because
No.
So we have 3 ayes and 1 abstain and 1 no. So
you know what,
the
I'm just
motion-
going to say no too. I think I just I don't know. I mean,
2 no's. So if you could bring that back, and then we will make those decisions at another meeting. But please, everyone, and I know tensions are high, emotions are high. Nobody here on this Commissioner's Court is not thinking that is not a great restaurant, a great draw to the island. But we have responsibilities and difficult decisions have to be made. And I apologize if anyone was offended by those. But we are sincerely interested in the island. That shows by the money that we have put into the pier, the Briscoe King Pavilion, every other thing that we have done. Believe me, we want to see the growth out there. We would love nothing more than to come back and tell you we can move forward. So, thank you very much.
Judge, I have another motion to take the 60% submittal on the pier to the next 90% level and to attempt to expedite the time frame on that to the best of our ability.
I'll second that. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, same sign. The motion passes. Thank you. Any other motions?